Alright, what's up guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out a blue-green Sanji deck. That's right. It is an OP-07 list. And guys, you know, this is why I do those spoilers. I know a lot of people don't really enjoy those. And I get it because some of these cards coming out so far in the future. But now that we know what they do, now we can actually talk about these decks. If you don't know what the cards do, please go check out the spoilers that I did, the whole set review. Or, you know, spoiler warning, a lot of these cards will not be out in the West for a good, like, 4 or 5 months. So just giving you guys a heads up. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into this. We got a tech deck style video where we're going to be checking out, analyzing a list that got first. It was just a random first place, I think, at a store tournament over in the East in Japan in the first week of OP-07. So, you know, this isn't like, we don't know if this is the best list or anything like that, you know, just yet. But we can at least check out a really cool deck running the 7 Warlords of the Sea package in blue-green Sanji. So just awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the leader, and then I'll run through the whole list. Actually, I should run through the whole list first, then we'll talk about the leader. And as usual, guys, if I mess anything up, if I miss something, y'all help me out in the comment section below. I really appreciate y'all for when y'all do that. Okay, so this is running 4 Gecko Moria, the actual on-play where you grab one from your trash. And we'll analyze the cards in a second. So it's running 4 of those Gecko Moria, 4 Boa Hancock, the blocker that can draw one if you have 5 or less cards in hand, 4 Gecko Moria, the... I have to kind of go into detail on these because there's so many cards that have the same name now in the game. But this is the... If you have 5 or more cards in your hand, this character gains double attack. Okay. Then it runs 3 Pudding. This card is absolutely toxic. We're going to talk about it in a second. It's so good. 4 of the Draw Card Edward Weevil, and 4 of the When Attacking Edward Weevil. 4 Crocodile. There's a 2k counter. 4 Jimbei. This is the new one from OP-07 that plays a 4-cost or lower 7 Warlords of the Sea. 4 Sengoku. Now remember, this is the new blue Searcher for 7 Warlords of the Sea. 3 Trafalgar Law. This is a 2k. 2 Doflamingo, the new Doflamingo. Notice it's not running any of the original 3-cost Doflamingo. That's interesting to me, but we'll check it out in a second. 4 of Buckin. This is the one that plays out the Edward Weevil. 4 Dracula Mihawk, and 2 Perfume Femur. Okay, Perfume Femur is another incredible event coming out in OP-07 that's going to allow you to get through blockers. Well, at least one of your 7 Warlords, the C-type leader or character cards will be able to. Okay. Well, actually, your opponent cannot activate... Yeah, when the selected card attacks. Excuse me. Yeah. I was going to say, that'd be interesting if it was just the next attack. So you just buff a 7 Warlords to C and then someone else can get through. But you do have to attack with... the card that you buffed is the one that gets the cannot activate blocker effect. Okay. So, first up, this Gecko Moria. This is just going to give you tons of recursion. This is the... You know, this card's been out for a while. Notice this is ST0. Is that 3? I just took my glasses off. This has been out for a very long time. And this is just a good card, right? This is just a solid card. It's, of course, the theme is 7 Warlords of the Sea. The only cards that are not 7 Warlords of the Sea in here are Pudding, and did they get, let me see, did they actually give Dracula Mihawk? They did. So I would say, it's like I knew Dracula Mihawk was one of the Warlords of the Sea, but I didn't know if they'd actually give him that on the card, because sometimes they don't always include every type. So pretty much everything on here is 7 Warlords of the Sea, guys, except for Buckin, which is Weevil's mom, and Pudding. And I think... Oh, and of course Sengoku. Sengoku's Navy. But he searches the 7 Warlords of the Sea type cards. So very, very useful. And so we have recursion in a card like this. We have searchability in a card like Sengoku. And then we have tons of tempo in a card like Jinbei. This new Jinbei card came out in OP-07. It's allowing you to play one of your cost 4 or lower 7 Warlords of the Sea type character cards other than Jinbei from your hand. Now notice this doesn't play them rested. This just plays them out from your hand, which is very, very strong. And it's using the new 3-cost 4K Doflamingo, the one that does not have a search on top or a 1K counter. This one has activate main once per turn, pay 2, reveal 1 card from the top of your deck. If that card is a 7 Warlords of the Sea type character card with a cost of 4 or less, you may play that card rested. Then place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck. It's an interesting tech card because I don't think he has any way to look at the top of his deck. Now, again, most of the cards in this deck are 7 Warlords of the Sea. Even though this card says unknown, this is a 7 Warlords of the Sea card, this Boa Hancock. So yeah, that's that, right? So this has 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28 targets, realistically. Actually, 32, 35 targets. It has 35 targets. So think of it like that. You know, there's only going to be 40 cards left in your deck at the beginning of the game, right? Because you're going to draw a card for the turn, so you'll have 6 cards in hand and 4 in life. Or you'll have 9 cards if you went first. So you're basically only going to have like 40 cards left. That is a very solid amount. So 35 out of 50 cards in the deck you can hit with this Doflamingo. And this is basically the standard blue leader Doflamingo's effect. Now, it doesn't attack. This, you know, you wouldn't want to attack with this card, right? You would want to force them to have removal. And if they don't have removal, well, you're just potentially generating value every single turn. Okay, same idea. So Jinbei's cheating out cards. This new Doflamingo's cheating out cards. And then we have Weevil's mom here, Buckin, that has on play up to 1 Edward Weevil with a cost of 4 or less from your hand rested. And you're playing these cards very rapidly. Same thing with Mihawk. Mihawk, if you have 2 or less cards in hand, excuse me, 2 or less cards. Let me put my glasses back on. That was a good try there. Okay, if you have 2 or less characters, play up to 1 Muggy Kingdom type or, here's the kicker, / attribute character card with a cost of 4 or less other than Draco Mihawk, of course, from your hand rested. Now, this plays it rested. Weevil's mom plays it in rested, and so does Doflamingo. But the idea is you're cheating in all these cards to play. Now, for those who don't know what this leader does, this is where the whole deck comes together, right? This is the effect that brings it all together. So, Blue-Green Sanji, the leader, it's a 5,000 power 4 life leader. It has Dawn ×1 when attacking once per turn. So, you're swinging for 6k. You may return one of your characters with a cost of 2 or more to the owner's hand, and then set up to one of your characters. Set up to one of your characters with 7,000 power or less as active. So you're swinging for 6. You're bouncing back these cards that every single card in this deck can be bounced back. Every card is 4 or less, so you can literally bounce back any of your cards, right? Characters. Well, actually, it's just cost of 2 or more. Excuse me, I had that backwards. What did I have backwards? Oh, 7,000 power or less. And then 2 or more cost. So the only card you can't bounce back to your hand is actually Sengoku. And you actually can with this card, with the new Trafalgar Law, that says activate main. You may return this character to its owner's hand. And if your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, they place 1 card. Actually, no, this isn't the one I was even thinking of. Excuse me, guys. I was completely wrong on that. What was I thinking? Oh, it's this one, the Crocodile. These are 2 new 2Ks. Like 2K counters, Crocodile and Trafalgar Law. And listen what Crocodile does. He has on play pay 1, return up to 1 2 cost or lower character to the owner's hand. So if you need to, you can bounce this guy back. You know, and it's just incredible. You know, like the synergy going on with this deck. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's weird. How does this even work, right? Like, this doesn't seem like it works. But it does. You know, I mean, clearly it did, right? It got first place for someone. I don't know how big the tournament was, in all fairness. Maybe this was at a locals where the players weren't very good. I have no information about this locals. And if anyone knows about it, by all means, comment down in the comment section below. But just looking at this list, I can see where it works. Like, it makes sense to me. You are just flooding the board with these cards that, you know, have lots of value. You know, especially like Gecko Moria, you know, this is going to get you a card back that you're probably going to lose cards very quickly in this deck. Well, you're getting them back as well with cards like Gecko Moria, cards like Sengoku, the leader's effect, right? This card plus Dracula Mihawk in this list, it's just a match made in heaven, right? It's literally just a match made in heaven, where you're going to be able to play this card on play, and then you're going to be like, so for 3 costs you're doing that. And you're playing out of 4 or less. And when it's rested, that's not a big deal, because with the other Dawn you have, or however much extra Dawn you have for the turn, attach 1 to the leader, swing, and then you're going to unrest it. Or you're going to set it as active and return the Mihawk back to your hand. By the way, another thing about this Dracula Mihawk is it is a 2,000 counter. Right, so I mean, you see what's going on there. Speaking of that, let me go ahead and see how many counters there are. So 4 Dracula Mihawk 2K counters, 4 Crocodile 2K counters, and 3 Trafalgar Law. So 11, that's kind of a weird number. Usually people round it to 10 or 12, but I mean, 11's right in the middle. It obviously works. I mean, clearly, you know, that's going to work just fine. And the good news is, like I was saying, you can use these activate effects. Look, Trafalgar Law just returns himself, by the way. But you can use these 2K's effects and then use your leader to just pull them back to your hand. You guys see the synergy there. So again, with this one, you could play this out for 4 if you need to. You know, it depends on the board state. I'm not just saying just do this, but you know, if you need to, you can plop this card down for 4, and then return up to 1 and pay 1. Obviously, you got to pay 1, and then return up to 1 2-cost or lower character to the owner's hand. So it could be a 2-cost blocker on your opponent's side, or your own searcher on your side, and then, you know, you use your leader's effect to swing for 6. You know, you have to attach 1 onto your leader to swing for 6. Pull this card back so you have the 2K back in hand, and then you can stand up, you know, one of your 7,000 power or less characters. Just very, very strong, especially with a card like this. Now, this is one of the few cards in the deck that is not a 7 Warlords of the Sea type character. And listen to this effect, guys. For those who don't know what this card does, you need to read this card. And you need to know right away, next time you play against blue, well, when this card hits in OP, this is coming out in OP-06, by the way, guys. So this isn't even like, oh, I'll worry about that later. No, this is coming out soon. On play, your opponent returns all of their hand cards, all the cards in their hand, to their deck and shuffles their deck. Then your opponent draws 5 cards. They have that worded so weird on this website. It should say your opponent returns all the cards in their hand to their deck, and then shuffles their deck, and then draws 5 new cards. This card, guys, y'all need to know what it does. If you're playing against blue in the future, you need to stay at like no more than 6 cards at all times. Whether you have to count out heavy, do that. Whether you have to do whatever you have to do, get down to 6 cards. Like, I mean, unless you want to risk it. People do risk it, and sometimes there's a, you know, high risk, high reward type of situation, because maybe they didn't draw their puddings and you're sitting on 8 or 9 cards in hand. But guess what? If they drop that pudding on you, your whole hand is going back to the deck, and you're drawing only 5 cards. So if you had, I don't care if you had 20 cards in your hand, it doesn't matter. All the cards are going back, and you're going to draw 5 random cards. That is brutal, guys. That's going to reset you the whole game. And in this deck, guess what? I'll just bring that back to my hand, untap one of my 7Ks, and we'll go from there. So just very, very powerful effects here. This new Edward Weevil card, this is from EB01. We won't have this in OP-06 for a while, but this card, it's a 4-cost 6K that draws a card. It's replacing itself. So like right when you play it, it's replacing itself. It doesn't have a 1K counter or anything like that, but who cares, right? I mean, like, this card's doing everything it needs to. It's just perfect for what it does. I will say this card's weird to me, like being in this deck, because it only has 2 targets, so 8 cards altogether, and these are 7 Warlords of the Sea type cards anyway, right? Like this, you know, the EB01 4-cost 6K and the OP-07 4-cost 5K. These are both, you know, these are the only targets you can hit with Bucking. But at the same time, like I said, you can return this card back to your hand with Zoro and Sanji to get effects off. And I guess that's good for a multitude of reasons, because you don't want to return your better characters, right? You don't want to return your characters that are getting value, you know, that are swinging or whatnot. Or you could just do it to protect all your characters. You know what I mean? If you had like a Jinbei that you just swung for, you know, 5 with, and then you have this let's use this one. Say you swung with your Jinbei and then the Edward Weevil. Well, you can bring the Jinbei back to your hand with your leader's effect, and then stand this guy up if you got him to 7,000 power. Actually, is it 7,000 power or less? Yeah, so even if you didn't put Dawn on him. Let me make sure one more time. You may return one of your characters with the cost of 2 or more to the owner's hand. Yeah, so it works out just fine. Really interesting, guys. And then one more thing I got to mention is this Perfume Femur. Trigger draw card, but this is one of the new cards coming out in OP-07, guys. Look what it does. Up to one of your 7 Warlords of the Sea type leader or character cards gains plus 2,000 power during this turn. Your opponent cannot activate blocker when the selected card attacks. So this even has a way to get around blockers. You know what I mean? It's flooding the board with all the 7 Warlords of the Sea shenanigans. And then on top of that, it has all kinds of bounce effects going on with the leader. And then finally, once you whittle them down after beating up their board and beating down beating down the whole deck and everything, then you're just going to go, okay, Perfume Femur, I'm going straight through your board. Just incredible. Now, of course, just to kind of, you know, we got to critique it a little bit. This looks to me, I could be wrong. I have absolutely no idea, because this is an OP-07 deck, guys, just to be very clear with y'all. We have no idea about how well this fares against all the different decks in the format currently. And again, who knows how strong the place was that hosted this tournament, how strong the player base was. But I will say this. I feel like this deck would struggle a little bit against Blue-Black Sakazuki. Maybe not. I could be totally wrong. Maybe it fills up the board. I have not played this deck because I don't have any of these OP-07 cards, and this deck came out today, at least on OnePieceTopDecks.com. And definitely check out that website if you have not already. But looking at the list, I could see where, I mean, the biggest card is 4. So one, what's it called? Great Eruption is going to get something down to 2 so that you can easily pop it with a, what's it called? Good old-fashioned Hound Blaze. Right, you'll just get it out of the way with Hound Blaze and smash through for 6 or 7, whatever you're going to buff the leader or character to that you buffed. But again, now I will say this: I forgot to mention this card does have a top 3 search. This is this Edward Weevil here coming out in OP-07. It's a 4-cost 5K with a 1K counter that has Dawn ×1 when attacking. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck and place them in any order at the top or bottom of your deck. So you will have a little bit of ways to like fix the top of your deck. But that's literally it. Just the one card. Just that one card, guys. And that's why I'm surprised he didn't actually just play the 3-cost 4K top 5 Arranger for Doflamingo. And notice how this deck is almost completely blue. I'm surprised he didn't just go blue Dofi. Just, you know, mono blue Doflamingo and just make some slight modifications. But I guess, I don't know. I guess you lose that ability to get this interaction, you know, to stand up your characters, return 2Ks back to get extra value there. I don't know. Who knows? And y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments section below. Do y'all think this list is best as blue-green? You know, the blue-green leaders, Zoro and Sanji? Or would it be better off as just strictly blue Doflamingo? And then you could swap these out for, you know, the 3-cost 4K with a 1K counter top 5 arrangement, the top 5 Arranger for Doflamingo. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say for me. I mean, I truly have no idea. But I will say this. On just looking at this deck, the way it's laid out, it looks absolutely incredible. And it looks like so much fun. You've got double attack in here. You've got ways to get cards from your trash. You have ways to attack your opponent's hand. You have ways to just absolutely flood the board with cards like these 4 we were just looking at. Wait, was this one? Oh, and you have more ways to attack their hand, excuse me. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, they place 1 card on the bottom of their deck. And that's just basically you're paying for to be able to do this as many times as you need to. Because do you return this? Yeah, activate main, you may return this character to its owner's hand. That's crazy. So, I mean, so think about it, guys. If you play this card out just as a 4-cost card, you know, because maybe you get it with Jinbei, well, you want to be careful if you do that, because then you might, well, no, I guess then you could swing with your leader. If you have 5, here's the crazy part, guys. If you have 5 Dawn, you know, you can literally, well, no, you won't have to. Well, okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm all over the place in my mind right now. What I was going to say is you could leave this guy on the board and attack with him, and then activate main and return it to your hand. But you don't even have to do that. Like, just play the card out with Jinbei, like I was saying, and then activate main. Your opponent trashes a card, and now you have your 2K back. I don't know. It's just one of the options. There's tons of options you can do in this deck, and that might not be the right play at the right. You know, it all depends on the situation. All right, guys, that's about it. Y'all tell me what y'all think of this deck. I think this is a really cool-looking deck, this blue-green Sanji deck, and the Zoro and Sanji deck. Because I got an admission to make here. I've been really thinking about messing around with 7 Warlords of the Sea with the mono blue Doflamingo, especially once I saw some of these cards that came out in OP-07. But this looks just as fun and way spicier with this leader tech. I mean, just absolutely, you know. It has some of the most filthy cards in the game coming out with this Pudding. Absolutely disgusting card. Same thing with this Trafalgar Law. Because, I mean, think about it. You hit them with this, like, they could be like 7 or 8 cards. You hit them with this, and then next turn they draw a card. And before they can even probably counter out, like, okay, hit them with a card like this. Just really gross. You got a Searcher in here. You've got ways to cheat cards out all over the place. Even with a leader, you have ways to cheat cards out, right? Well, actually, excuse me, it pulls cards back. But anyway, y'all get the point. All right, I'm done rambling, guys. I'm very excited to try this deck out. This looks like a lot of fun. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Do y'all think this could be a decent deck, or is it still too early to know? Is it still, or maybe you just know, no, it's not going to be a good deck. Maybe that's some people might be thinking like, dude, the deck's not going to be good, and that's fine too. Leave that in the comment section below. Just, you know, I just ask that people be respectful down there. Let's be nice. All right, guys, that's it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you've not already, and until next time, peace.